everybody. Welcome to the Sally Allen podcast. I am so glad you're here. Thank you. As you know, this is a platform where we share stories of resilience. And today I have my dear friend Michelle White, and I'm so excited to have her because a year ago I heard her story and I could not believe her story. It was so different from all the stories I've heard. So I knew I had to have her. Well, I didn't have a podcast when I heard her story. But once I started the podcast, I knew I had to have you, Michelle. Welcome to the Sally Allen podcast.
Thank you, Sally. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah. So before I get into it, let me introduce you quickly to her. She's a mom of 4. Can you believe that?
No.
Austin, pan the camera to her. You got to see her, man. She doesn't look. Look at that.
You're so nice.
Beautiful, right? You just look like you're in your 30s.
I love you.
So mom of 4. She is a native Las Vegas. Did I say that right?
Yep. Born and raised.
Born and raised in Las
Yes.
Vegas. And I don't meet a lot. I've met like 4 people, Michelle. Can you believe that? Born and raised in Las Vegas. But the thing about her is she does the coolest job.
Yeah.
She is the mission director at the Crossing Church. And what she does is she fosters relationship between our local nonprofit partners and international partners. And she planned these mission trips, and last week, right, we got to go to Chicago.
Oh, it was amazing.
It was amazing. And where are we
much
going
fun.
next?
Well, I'm going to Poland, and you're coming with me.
We are going to Poland, baby.
Yes.
I am so excited just to just travel with this woman. But anyways, with that said, Michelle, welcome again. And I
Thank
know
you.
you're sharing with us what parts of your story you said, you'll omit some parts of it, but what part are you sharing?
I want to share what God has done in my life through the relationships that I've had, and just how He has called me to more than I ever expected, and how there have been times where I really thought, there's no way He can use me. I have made so many bad mistakes, and yet He still does. And it doesn't matter my history or what I have done.
Yeah.
He's covered it all, and He's still calling me forward.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Like, did you rehearse or memorize that? That was so beautiful.
That just came out. What's next? Let's go. Are we done?
She's ready. Are we done? That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Austin, I'm freaking out a little bit. I don't see the clock. So I like to see the timer.
Oh, where do you see that?
Yeah, he'll set it on the clock.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, this is really candid. This is what we do.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
You like that? Mm-hmm. All right.
So it's like a conversation instead of like, whoa.
I know. It is.
Yeah.
It isn't. It's not. Oh, what you said. All right. So getting back to your story, what you shared with me, more than a year ago, that was terrifying and horrifying and just on so many levels, right? So share a little bit of that with us.
Yep. And so I guess my caveat would be, my kids are involved, and this is a part of their story. So what I do share, just with the understanding, some parts will be omitted to protect them.
Yes, totally.
But so I was born and raised here in Las Vegas, and grew up just in, typical Las Vegas family, but with a lot of addiction. There was a lot of addiction in my family. So I grew up with all of the problems that you would expect from a kid in that environment, and really not understanding my self-worth, and looking for it in all the different places. And we were Creasters, so we went to church on Christmas and Easter.
Oh, that was like, what did I forgot?
It's a Creaster.
I forgot what that was.
Yeah, so Christmas and Easter, we went to church, but really we didn't have like a foundation of faith or anything. And so, as we are prone to do, I was looking for my value in all the wrong places. But thank God, when I was a sophomore in high school, I got invited to a youth group. And at this youth group, they just presented Jesus in such a beautiful way that I accepted Him into my heart. And you would think like, oh, everything's magically better. Like, no, it was not. I still, lived in the environment that I was in, and still was wrestling with my own demons, still looking for worth and value from something else. And sadly, I went to men to find that value and to give me worth instead of just getting it from God. I was,
Yeah.
giving it away.
Do you think like you were disappointed when you got saved and you received Jesus? Were you looking for like that overall change? What were you,
Yes.
and were you disappointed? Like, I don't feel different. What's happening?
I think I did feel different, but I thought it was going to be perfect. Right? Like I thought I had this transformation in my heart, and I didn't want to do drugs or drink or party and all those things that I was doing.
Right.
So I thought that was just going to go on forever and I was going to have this amazing trajectory. But instead, no, like I sacrificed that heart and that love, just one decision at a time, right? Just one letting go of myself at a time, one question, one, saying yes to things that I didn't want to do necessarily. And it's a slow fade. Like, it's not something that happens quickly where you're like, oh my, holy crap, I'm in an abusive relationship. It's like, no, you get in the water and it slowly starts to get hotter, right? But you don't notice it.
Yeah, I think, was it Casting Crowns who sang that song, It's a Slow Fade, when you give your life away? Or
I think
like
so.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my
Maybe
favorite
it's my song.
Yeah.
I should look it up.
You should look it up.
It's me. It's a slow fade.
Yeah. You don't realize it's creeping up on you slowly and slowly and slowly.
Yeah.
And but I'd say you hadn't started really your faith journey, right? So you had to go through, or you were allowed to go through these things in order to reach your faith journey.
Yes. I think really I had started my faith journey, but I wasn't obedient in it.
Interesting, yeah.
Right? Like, I was learning right from wrong. I was learning about the love of the Lord, but I wasn't saying yes to that. Like, this guy over here looked better than this. So even though I was learning, I wasn't being obedient to it. So in that, I started a relationship, my first ever boyfriend, and we were in high school and, fell madly, deeply in love. But it was so tumultuous and just very up and down and very, very unhealthy. Slowly, I lost all my girlfriends, right? So I got very isolated. I quit doing what I loved to do, which was soccer. And so slowly it was just me and him. And I knew, like, I wasn't happy, but I didn't know how to get out. And then finally one summer, right after I graduated high school, we break up. And during this breakup time, I moved to Colorado for 2 months to go to school. I think I'm going to stay out there, right? I'm like, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to get a new start. And on my Christmas vacation, come home, and we had started talking again. And we were like idiots because we were like, how else can we be together unless we get married right now?
Oh.
Right now. So
wait, I want to backtrack on something you said.
Yeah.
It's ringing in my head. When you said you lost your friends and you were being isolated, was that by your design or his design?
I think at the time it would have been very, it's cloudy. It's hard to tell. I think I was so infatuated with him and wanted to please him so much that I was giving up on the things that I desired. So I was giving up things to make him happy, which I don't even know if he was really asking me to do that. That's the sad part. Yeah. So we did. We went out and we got married, and we didn't tell anyone. It was
So how old were you guys?
18.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so ridiculous. We went out to Taco Bell afterward. Because what else would you do? We were like, we paid all this money, like $70 to get married at the drive-thru. So we had
let's go celebrate at Taco Bell.
$6 left. And let's go get Taco Bell. So yeah, we went and did that, and then it's just so beautiful. Like looking back though, like through that, my parents became Christians. Like they weren't Christians before that, and sadly, like it broke their heart that I had gone and done this, and that was a very, very hard time for them. We kind of separated, and we didn't have interactions for about a year, and it was heartbreaking. And then we got pregnant, and I had my son, and that was hard. Like we were not in a healthy place at all. There was a lot of fighting on both sides. We were both just idiots. Like
Right.
18 is very young to get married.
Yeah, you're still babies. Yeah, trying to figure out things.
Yes. Yeah. We both had so much like trauma in our own lives that, we hadn't healed from or done any work to heal from. So we had no coping skills or communication skills. And we were just really bad to each other. And through that, there was lots of fights and arguments. And we ended up getting a divorce because of it. We just could not figure out how to stay together.
Well, what did you think was that? I know you guys were young.
Yeah.
And sounds like immature, right? Struggling with your own traumas. But what did you think was really like missing in the relationship?
Jesus.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when you live in love for God, like you're dying to yourself. You're putting someone else first. And also when you're living with him, he heals you. And he'll take you on that journey of healing. And neither of us, like, we both believed, but we weren't living out that healing that we needed.
Yeah. So what would you say like to young couples? Sometimes they get married at 21. And that's still living young, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But what advice would you give to them? Like, what should they do? I know there's some pre-things you can do,
Yeah.
right? To
Yeah.
prepare yourself.
Yes, definitely. I would recommend the pre-things. I mean, I've never done this right, though, so I'm like, I'm coming to you live with, like, how not to do things. So what not to do? Don't not do the pre-things.
So I think some of the pre-things are like the premarital counseling. Is that what it's called?
Yep,
I don't know what it's called.
I think at our church it's called Symbis. Save
Okay.
your marriage before it starts.
Yeah, I like that.
The other thing that I heard recently from a couple who's been married like over 40 years is they go to a counselor yearly for a tune-up.
Wow, I like that.
And they're like, sometimes there's not even anything we really need to go and talk about, but we just go every year for a checkup and, get a little tune-up and make sure we're staying synced up. And man, I wish I would have known that before, and that there's no shame, there's no stigma with it. For me, I carried so much shame in my life that it seeped out into all my relationships. Because I think when you're burdened with that, you're looking for other people to make you not feel ashamed. So I was looking to him. He couldn't do it, right? So then we get divorced. And I'm like, I'm not dating. And then when I do start dating, I was fed up with Jesus at this point. Like, God, this whole relationship just got ruined. I'm a single mom. I'm done. I'm done with you. So I go on this rebellious track of dating, and I end up getting pregnant. Not married, not even in a relationship, and I end up getting pregnant. And this, he was a coworker, and in my, like, I have a record of being an idiot, so I'm just gonna be like really open about my
So
idiocracy.
we won't say, I would never say you're that. Like, I've known you. I would say it was just going through the growing pains.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The growing pains,
Growing
right?
pains.
Going through growing
So-
pains.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yes. And God's so faithful to get me through them. But so I get pregnant, and this guy and I are like, what do we do? I'm living at home with my parents with my like 2-year-old son. And
How old are you now?
23.
23.
22.
Okay. 22.
Yeah,
Okay, 22. Okay.
Because Maddie was born when I was 23.
Okay.
And his family's from like Georgia. And they're like, you better marry her. And I was like, well, okay. Like,
But I could justify.
I'm going to read sci-fi at the bar. Like, so stupid. And yeah, so I'm very creative with excuses, I guess. It's fine. Just an hour late.
Yeah, that's fine.
So yeah, all the red flags and just push through. We end up getting married. Like, we were in love and we ended up getting married, but really soon after, it just like immediately after we got married, it just was bad. And we almost got divorced within the first year because the arguing was so bad. And we tried counseling, everything, nothing was working. And really, when I look back at that time and I look over like these 3 men that I married, each one was an addict. Each man was an addict. And I am an addict who's trying to recreate these relationships and fix them. Right? So to recreate the relationship I had with the addicts in my childhood that broke me, and as an adult, I'm looking to recreate that and fix it. But when you get into a relationship with an addict, you don't fix it.
Yeah.
There's no fixing.
Yeah, and we say that a lot. We see that a lot where, people get caught up in this, that I can fix them. I can change them.
Oh, yeah.
I'll definitely change them.
Yeah. I'm super fun. I thought I'd like fun his way out of addiction. We're going to help you with the power of fun. It didn't happen.
No, and I think that's part of like also not being secure and healthy mentally where you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It stemmed from insecurity, not knowing whose I was in Christ, not knowing my full identity, and just really selling parts of my soul.
Yeah.
I was selling myself. It wasn't for money. It was for affection, attention, compliments, security, companionship.
Yeah.
I was selling myself for all of those things, just giving myself away.
Yeah. And I think when we go into relationship also with our cups empty, we're looking for the other person to fill our cup, even though we're going in to fix them.
Yes.
And their cup's empty and they're looking to you. So there's 2 empty cups battling together, not knowing how to fix it and realizing that. Well, that was some tough times you went through, Michelle.
It was, but the Lord was so good coming out of it. I was my last husband, number 3, and I were married for 10 years. And at the end, it was just so bad, but God was calling me in such a sweet way the last, like, probably 4 years of our marriage or so, where he was healing me and he was drawing me close. And it was not well received, right? And as things were getting just volatile again, I came to the end of my rope, and really I was struggling with wanting to be alive, just thinking, why am I even here if this is how I'm always going to be treated?
Yeah.
Would my kids be better off not seeing this in their home every day? How can I help them not have this be a part of their life? And it's weird. Like, I don't know why, as so many of us women just don't think like you can leave.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yes, it's a covenant. I had so much shame, though. I did not want to be seen as a person with 3 marriages.
Yeah.
Like, 2 sounds awful. 3 sounds like psycho. And I was like, oh, man, definitely would rather die. Like, what? Like, that's so dramatic. But that's how I was feeling. And I was crying out to God. And I remember it so clearly. And I wrote it in my journal, like, I surrender. And I need your help. Either you take him away or you change him. And I'd never prayed a prayer like that because I never, like, the weird thing is, even though I was trying to help, I never looked at him as a person who needed to change. I looked at myself as like, if I loved him better, he wouldn't go to this for his comfort or whatnot. If I provided better, if I did this better, he wouldn't be an addict. And so I prayed for God to change him or remove him. And I don't think I've ever surrendered anything so freely before, where I was just crying out to God. And I feel like God was saying, like, this is what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for your surrender. And literally that day, something happened that, I can't go into the details, but where my husband was removed from our lives. We were removed from the home. And I look back at that and I'm like, man, God heard me and answered in my complete surrender. When I finally was like, oh, I can't do anything. I can't love him better. I can't do his laundry better, shop for him better, make more meals at night, keep the house clean enough. There's nothing I can do to make this man better.
Yeah.
I surrender. And it's like, God's like, thank you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Did you find he didn't answer the way you would have wanted him to?
Oh my
like,
gosh,
be careful
yeah.
what you pray for.
I mean, it was not all like peaches and roses.
Right.
Like it was so hard. But what he did was he stripped us away from just the toxicness that was in our life.
Yeah.
My parents were so generous and took us in. It's me, and at the time, it's me and my 3 girls. My oldest was still home. Sorry, my oldest girl was still home. My son had already moved out on his own. So me and my 3 girls lived in 2 bedrooms for a year.
Yeah.
Where we just healed, and I went to a lot of counseling. My oldest daughter went to counseling, and through that time, though, like, God did so many amazing things, and he brought women around me to love me, which I wasn't used to, right? Like, when you're in an abusive relationship, you kind of isolate.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the theme for each marriage, is I only had like one friend throughout each marriage, and it's really not healthy.
Yeah.
You should have more people in your life, because when, like you said, like, who's calling it out? Who's showing you? Like, well, one person you can kind of choose what you say things to, but if you have a lot, it gets harder, right?
Yeah.
To know what you're saying. And so he brought around a lot of women and a lot of community that just loved the heck out of me. But it was really hard. Like, I'd go to church and have panic attacks. And I felt, even though no one was saying it, I felt so judged. But nobody was.
Oh, totally.
This is me in my own head feeling like people are going to know. They're going to look at me and just know. I've been married 3 times. Like, and, I don't know why we do that to ourselves, but I did. But through it, like, God's given me so much grace for people who are going through things like that, and more of an understanding of, like, man, addiction, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. And it's hard to love an addict.
Yeah. And from your story, it doesn't have to be like being addicted to alcohol or drugs. It can come in different forms. Yeah, I was going to ask you about your healing journey, but you shared it right before you came. I was excited to tell you, I just did my 3rd live.
Yeah.
But that's what I was talking about. Like, if we're not transparent and we wear those filters and those masks, and we're afraid to take it off, people won't know who we are.
Yeah.
Truly.
Exactly.
And if we're feeling judged around people, then certain people, we need to step away from that and go to people, a community that's not going to judge us, but love us. And I'm so glad that you found that, Michelle.
Thank you.
Yeah, Yeah.
It's been amazing.
Yeah, I wrote some words here as you were talking because I can see, I wrote delivered and healed because as you share your story, you can share it almost with not joy, but see it in a way that, wow, God has healed me.
Yeah.
And I don't have to carry this burden around like a sack of potatoes.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I've been healed, I've been delivered. I can even
Yep.
laugh about it.
My
right? 'Cause I
father
talk
brought me
about
through it.
Yeah.
I am so thankful. And if I hadn't have gone through all of that, I wouldn't have my kids.
Yeah.
And they are the biggest gifts that I've ever had. Like, God knew I needed each one of them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have the perspective I have today,
Yeah.
you know?
And the
just-
wisdom, like
yeah.
you come through with wisdom, right?
Yeah.
That you can share with your kids. I know Maddie just got married.
Yes,
How cool is
yeah.
that? Yeah,
It's so cool.
so exciting.
Yeah.
But listen, I know this was your first podcast, but you did amazing, and I thank you for being
Fred.
so transparent and for sharing with us. What's a takeaway for our audience today? Oh, I didn't prepare you for that.
I know. I would say the biggest takeaway, I would say, just ask God. Ask God
Yeah,
and wait for him to show up.
yeah, and be careful what you ask for.
He'll get you through
He'll
it.
get you through it. Yeah, yeah. All right, friends. As you know, I usually end with a takeaway of mine, but I've shared this takeaway several times, but I think it's so important to share it again. We need to surround ourselves with a good community and good people who will be there for us, who will love us, and who would support us. And regardless of what we're going through, they won't judge us. Thank you.